Alright, let's set aside all this main story stuff for a minute and go do something fun for a while. Not that the main story's not fun, but trailing after Alduin is starting to become like work, you know? So I want to go mess with some vampires. That's what I want to do. I've been wanting to go to start the Dawnguard quest line for like a long time now. Been missing Serana, actually. So we'll start heading that way in these backwoods behind Riften. Shouldn't be too far of a walk. See if this dragon really wants to come down and fight or not. Getting to that stage in the game where half the dragons are cowards. They come around and roar a little bit, but they don't really want any trouble. They'd like to live another day, recognizing the mighty dragonborn down here. Or something. Whatever. At least that's what I'd like to think. Alright. So we'll see what kind of nasties we can run into. I've been ambushed by squads of vampires and flocks of spiders and thugs and you name it. Oh, well, bears. There we go. Look at that. Keep in mind, you guys, K-Bears used to give us the blues, right? Well, I mean, of course, we're higher levels, so we should have an easier time with some of these things, but knocking stuff out, like, really fast now. Keep in mind the gear we're using here is really base level stuff with no enchantment potions, no blacksmithing potions. None of that was utilized. It was just, I wanted to put gear on with just flat stats. Whatever I had to work with, that's what I was going to use. And I have just enough survivability, really, where bears used to hit a bit harder than that, to take some damage and get in there and actually be able to go in with both weapons now and do some work without just getting one-shotted, without just running in and trying to kite in a few hits and getting hit one time, almost dying, running around a corner and healing and stuff like that. And legendaries like that, especially early on, it's just bad. They hit so hard. Doesn't really matter what you're wearing or using, you know. If it's all legit equipment, you know, no glitches, no exploits, blah, 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 and all that other crap. If it's just, you know, game stuff, in-game stuff the way it's, what would you say, designed to be used, you know, then you're gonna have problems early on. Legendaries, just, they do a lot of extra stuff. They hit a lot harder and you hit a lot softer. Basically how that works. And so, with this gear here, I think we're hitting really hard. I think we've compensated for that, and we've done it specifically through a build. Now, we discussed this in another video, a build video specifically, that there's not a lot of rocket science in Skyrim as far as making a build. You know, find what you want to do and then putting your points into doing that, right? But really where it comes down to is where you assign your attribute points and what you do with your equipment. With me, in particular, I followed my own logic, my own advice, and I found a path and I stuck to it. In other words, I'm a damage-dealing character. Understanding that in the mechanics of the game, I'm going to have a follower. The follower is going to act as my tank. That's the one who takes the damage. Basically, whoever my follower is serves as my suit of armor, if that makes sense. You go in there and you take all the hits while I come in and do the damage type of thing. I don't require my followers to do the damage, right? I require them to get in there and take it, essentially. All right, and then my job is to come in and clean up behind them and hopefully kill them fast enough to where they don't kill my follower. Now, if we were in an MMO style setting or a bigger group setting like, say, Dragon Age, you know, or Mass Effect, something like that, where you have, you know, a 4-party squad or whatever, then you would have a healer involved also. You'd be dealing with even more enemies, usually mobs, as a group as a whole, all right? And you would have your tank in there doing the same thing, but you would have the healer keeping the tank on their feet and then structure your damage dealers to go in and clean up the mobs before they have a chance to kill your tank and turn on your healer. Because your healer, the well-designed games, that, you know, even when you have a really, really powerful healer, you still at some point run out of resources. It's not like Skyrim here where you have infinite resources if you do certain things. Like, for example, if you're a magic user, putting, you know, Magicka school cost reduction on all of your equipment to where your spells are free, to where you're running around. It doesn't really matter how much mana you have because your spells don't cost anything to cast, right? And they cost less to use. So you're talking about master level spells that only cost like, what, 60 mana or something to cast anyway? That type of thing. However you have that geared, it's basically unlimited resources and stuff. And so you can kind of go God mode. So in a sense, it's more like, how did I put it last time? It's more like an extended action game than really a true RPG in that sense. When you're dealing with lots of skill points anyway, and you're dealing with the ability to basically run around God mode, even without exploits and cheats. there's ways to gear your stuff to where you're pretty potent. You know, you can do your thing and do it well. Well, that's kind of how I geared this character. Now I'm limited somewhat in skill points, as I'm not going for the making my skills legendary and getting way over leveled so I can put a skill point in every single thing, you know, or in lots of different things where I can be an archer, two-hander, sword and shield, dual wielding, destruction, magic, conjuring, restoration, healer. You know, I'm not doing all that, right? And so I have my role, you know, my little specialization. I like playing like this. It's fun for me, right? It makes me feel like I'm playing more of an RPG when I have to pick and choose. I don't have enough points to throw a few trash points off into speech, lockpicking, and some other stuff, and maybe a few into a magic school. I haven't even gotten any into my conjuration tree yet. All right, now that'll come. My last couple levels will probably go up into there, especially once my conjuration skill gets up into the 80s, 90s. Hopefully push it 100. Take a while. I'd probably have to go grind the soul trap exploit and just go practice with soul trap on some enemies and stuff. You know, if I wanted to do that, but get a few points off into that. But right now, I'm still essentially filling out my primary ability trees. It seems like I still have a point or two to put into archery. At least 2, if not 3 or 4 more points to put into that. Considering maybe putting some points into both the critical chance with swords and the bleeding thing with axes, which is almost completely useless. The bleeding with axes in the one-handed tree is well, it just is useless. It's maybe on normal or adept difficulty or novice difficulty or something. It might make some small difference when enemies have much smaller health pool and they take a bit more damage and stuff. It might be effective, but on legendary, the 3 or 4 points over a second or something bleeding damage you might do based on the damage your weapon's doing. I think it's like 10% of that or something. With these iron swords or iron axe, I might be getting a 3 or 4 point bleeding effect every once in a while. That's no. Probably the strongest thing in the one-handed tree really is maces that ignore armor. Now that's pretty fantastic. But even then, since I've geared even my shout to my build, the March for Death, that essentially destroys enemy armor anyway. So I feel comfortable in how I built this. I'm really liking the axe in one hand, sword in another, is that my weapons aren't getting confused near as often, for one. I think the game likes to, even when you've given your enchanted weapons a name, it still likes to confuse. If you're using 2 of the same kind, it can mix those up. If you notice a few times when we've gone into a fight, I've had to go shift through my menus and put a weapon back in my hand and separate the weapons. And one time it even got them crossed and it basically duplicated or unduplicated them and made both into one weapon, and that was interesting. That was much earlier in the game. But with this is cool. Remember, put your faster weapon, which would be a sword, in order of speed. Oh, look at this. That is weird. It's like something stretched across the screen. Probably something small like a log or a twig or something, a leaf. Completely stretched across Skyrim. That's crazy. Anyway, put your faster weapon in your offhand or your left hand, and that will dictate the speed of both weapons. If you're dual wielding, if you're not dual wielding, this doesn't matter. But you can a sword in the left and even a mace. I prefer the axe because it's a little fast. The maces are just too slow for me, and their stamina cost is a lot higher. Remember, your sword is not only going to be faster, it's not going to cost so much stamina to use. So if you're dual wielding swords, that'd be the speediest. Unless you want to count daggers, but remember, daggers get nothing from the one-handed tree. Daggers, the only benefit for a dagger is sneak attacks. Other than that, daggers are essentially useless. I mean, you can fight with those, and on lower difficulties, it's not a problem. You can run around with twin daggers if you want, but you'll notice the power attacks are even slower because you have an animation where it looks like you flip the dagger over in your hand and do this fancy thing, and then flip it back, whatever. It actually takes longer to animate and carry out than it does a power attack from another one-handed weapon, which you just essentially swing. That's it. You just swing harder.
You've probably killed lots of vampires, huh? I'm sure Isran will sign you right up.
Looks like we have another prospective Dawnguard recruit here.
Fort Dawnguard. Wow. Bigger than I expected.
Anyway, so I'm really digging this. Sword in one hand, axe in the other. It's not really lowering my attack speed overall. Attack speed is important because that's really your damage, your DPS. The stagger effect seems to be okay. We're gonna give it some more testing. We can always go back to 2 swords. I mean, making an iron sword that costs nothing, using a soul gem is not a big deal, so shouldn't be a problem.
Changed your mind, huh? The Dawnguard could use somebody like you. Ha! Isran's going to like you. He's up the hill in the fort. He'll decide if you're Dawnguard material.
There we go. Let's go join up. I'm kind of excited about this. Like I said, I've been missing Serana. I really want to go grab her as a follower. But anyway, okay, so anyway, looking, and we'll see, especially, hopefully over the next few videos, we can do a bunch of fighting and killing stuff. Looks like we're going to be running into some vampires here. Lots of vampires in the near future. We'll see the damage difference now with all of our geared specifically towards dealing damage. That's it. One-handed in archery. If I wasn't doing archery, if I was doing, say, dual-wielding and destruction magic, which is a viable build, might consider doing that if I play Skyrim again, just running like that. You would concentrate your gear on destruction magic and reduction of spell cost.
All these years was hearing that he wanted my help. I immediately realized things must be pretty bad. Looks like I was right. I have. There was a time years ago when we were both members of the Vigilance, and both equally dissatisfied with them. Their hearts are in the right place, of course. But Isran and I were never comfortable. We left together, but that partnership didn't last very long. I didn't agree with some of his methods. Isran will decide if you've got what it takes. Go on, he's right inside.
I think we get a bit of backstory into the start of the Dawnguard.
The Vigilance and I were finished with each other a long time ago.
You know why I'm here. The Vigilance are under attack everywhere. The vampires are much more dangerous than we believed.
And now you want to come running to safety with the Dawnguard. Is that it? I remember Keeper Carset telling me repeatedly that Fort Dawnguard is a crumbling ruin, not worth the expense and manpower to repair. And now that you've stirred up the vampires against you, you come begging for my protection.
Isran, Carset is dead. The Hall of the Vigilance, everyone, they're all dead. You were right, we were wrong. Isn't that enough for you?
Yes, well, I never wanted any of this to happen. I tried to warn all of you. I am sorry, you know. So who are you? What do you want? You heard right. I'm glad word's finally starting to get around. But that means it won't be long before the vampires start to take notice as well. I need someone out in the field taking the fight to the damn vampires, while we're getting the fort back into shape. Tolan was telling me about some cave the Vigilants were poking around in. Seemed to think it was related to these recent vampire attacks. Tolan, tell her about, what was it? Dim Hollow.
Yes, that's it. Dim Hollow Crypt. Brother Adelwald was sure it held some long-lost vampire artifact of some kind. We didn't listen to him any more than we did Isran. He was at the hall when it was attacked.
That's good enough for me. Go see what the vampires were looking for in this Dim Hollow Crypt. With any luck, they'll still be there. Here, you should take a crossbow. Good for taking out those fiends before they get close. Feel free to poke around the fort and take what you need. There isn't much yet, but you're welcome to anything you can use.
I'll meet you at Dim Hollow. It's the least I can do to avenge my fallen comrades.
Tolan, I don't think that's a good idea. You Vigilants were never trained
I
for...
know what you think of us. You think we're soft, that we're cowards. You think our deaths proved our weakness. Stendarr granted you do not have to face the same test and be found wanting. I'm going to Dim Hollow Crypt. Perhaps I can be of some small assistance to you.
You there, boy. Stop skulking in the shadows and step up here. What's your name?
My name is Agmir, sir.
Do I look like a sir to you, boy? I'm not a soldier, and you're not joining the army.
Yes, sir. Isran.
Didn't I tell you to step forward? Farm boy, huh? What's your weapon?
My weapon? I mostly just use my paw's axe when wolves are attacking the goats or something.
My paw's axe. Stendar preserve us. Don't worry. I think we can make a Dawnguard out of you. Here, take this crossbow. Let's see how you shoot.
Crossbow? I've never...
Yes, a crossbow. Best thing for killing vampires. Just take a few shots at those crates over there.
All right.
Get the hang of it.
Guess we'll practice with ours, too. Since he gave us one, go play with it for a second. It's not something I'll use. It's not an iron weapon, guys. Well, I don't know. I don't think you can make an iron crossbow. If you can, I may make one and play around with that, because that's legit. But I don't believe so. I think they start at steel.
Boy. Try it again.
They just go up from there. They are pretty accurate. Pretty cool, too. Interesting new thing to add to the game.
Take a deep breath and let it out as you fire.
I wonder if these banners will move when you shoot them. Okay, so apparently, basic backstory, which they kind of, they give it to you really, really well right here, actually, is that this Isran guy, and apparently his buddy out front, who later on didn't see eye to eye, were initially some of the vigilants of Stendar, right? And
I knew it would come to this one day. I knew, and no one believed. There's only one thing worth remembering. When it comes to vampires, if you're sloppy or careless, you're dead. And good people will die because of you. I've lasted this long because I don't take chances. I cover my tracks and I keep my eyes open. If you're smart, you'll do the same. This is Fort Dawnguard. Originally owned by the Jarl of Riften back in the Second Era, it was a bit of a black mark on the Hold's history. I'm trying to put it to good use. We hunt down and kill vampires. Haven't you been paying attention? In the old days, the Dawnguard kept all of Skyrim safe from those blood-sucking scum. Then people stopped taking the threat seriously. The Dawnguard was disbanded, and the vampires came creeping back. Now I'm trying to re-establish the Dawnguard. Take the fight to the vampires for a change. I hope it isn't too late. Watch your back.
alright, so he was probably viewed as something of a fanatic, and apparently he warned them, he told them what was coming, and nobody listened to him, and the vigilance, as vigilant as they think they are, you know, who's going to let this one upstart over here tell us anything? You know, we're out here, you know, fighting Daedra and stuff. You can't tell us anything. We know what's coming. Blah, blah, blah. And so he was like, well, I told you so. He left. And apparently his methods of hunting down vampires were a little distasteful to his buddy, who later saw the light and is obviously here, working with Isran, right? The guy we've met out front. And now the vigilants are crawling back to Isran saying, you're right, you're right, you're right. And they're like, but we're all dead, and so you should feel bad about it. And that's what he told them would happen. It's not like he's happy about it. He wouldn't have warned them in the first place if he wanted that to happen to everybody, right? But they didn't want to listen to him. And they were wrong, and they paid the price for that. And that's kind of the point he's making is, you know,
That's it.
he didn't go the way of the rest of those vigilants because he's careful, and he took it seriously, you know. So anyway, this is what we're joining up with. Now, we just might find it more desirable to become a vampire. That might happen. Just kind of poke my nose around here. It's pretty cool. He says you can pretty much have anything. So nothing in here is really stealing, I don't think. I haven't run into anything. I know there's eventually a blacksmith area and some other stuff around here. All the amenities of home. I believe it's out this way. And then something is also in these pens. I don't remember. Was it battle trolls or something? Armored trolls? Was that it? I don't remember. Anyway, they start putting something. Anyway, I think as we progress in the story, they naturally upgrade the fort here. I don't think there's anything required of us to invest in it. I think it just kind of happens over time as we complete quests and things. There'll be, blacksmith thing will pop up there, and probably alchemy and enchanting table, if I remember. Pretty much all the normal stuff you'd find in your house if you had all the extras. And so I'm not going to worry too much about that. I just want to go seek out some vampires. And
Isran found something for you to do, eh?
yeah, actually he did. Alright, I don't know what's the quickest way to this place. We'll just find a place that's sort of nearby. I do recall this being kind of tricky to get to. Yeah, I mean, you can even tell it's up in a mountain somewhere. We really don't have anywhere that close, do we? Oh well. That's fine. We'll just start from here. Oh, this is where we went for the Greybeards, to get the horn of Jurgen Windcaller or whatever. I believe this is the same. Anyway, we've been here before. It doesn't matter. All these enemies have apparently respawned. Yeah, it's a whole different ball game now. That's what I'm talking about. Don't disrespect my little iron weapons here too. I can do some work. Do some work. All right, so we'll just head out from here on the next one. I think this is a good cutoff point, and we'll go head towards this wherever we're headed. Let's go meet up with that one vigilant guy and go investigate this whole vampire thing. All right, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe, click that button up top. If you want to catch the rest of this Let's Play up to this point, click that image in the middle. It should take you right there. All right, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.